Mike Pence, in the past 24 hours, announced that he has officially qualified for the first Republican debate. He passed the 40,000 donor requirement. But the former vice president right now is polling around 5% nationally. Talked to him a little earlier today and asked how the debate could perhaps, if there is a way for the debate, to help him break away from the pact.
One of the things I've come to realize, Leland, traveling around the country the last 2 years, is that I'm well known, but I'm not known well. I mean, you and I have known each other for a lot of years. You knew me when I was a conservative leader in the Congress. You knew me when I was a conservative governor. But most Americans know me as that vice president during those 4 consequential years. And I really do believe it's going to be an opportunity for me to share our story, to share our heart.
All right, with the panel now. Mark, I'll start with you because you know him probably better than anybody. Is Mike Pence's problem that voters don't know, and especially Republican primary voters don't know who Mike Pence is and what he stands for?
I think the problem that the vice president faces is the problem that all vice presidents face when they try to run for president, is that you want to take the good stuff from what you guys did together, but not necessarily attack or criticize the former boss. Now, in this case, it's a little bit differently with Mike Pence, but you're trying to have it both ways and create your own narrative when, from a national standpoint, it's been pretty baked in for a number of years. So I do think people know, or believe they know who Mike Pence is. I have always said that the Mike Pence that you see on television behind the podium is the same guy that I saw on Air Force 2 or in the vice president's office in the West Wing or in the governor's mansion when I knew him when he was governor of Indiana. So it's just going to be a difficult tightrope for any vice president, especially for Vice President Pence in this.
You could argue that he's one of the more authentic politicians who's ever existed because he is exactly the same person in person as he is on the stump, as he is on television. Hogan, we made the point to him that there is a lot of Republican primary voters who don't only not know him, they know him and don't like him, which is a much bigger problem. His argument is, look, people don't understand what happened on January 6th. So long as I explain that I didn't have the right to overturn the election, that is going to fix everything. From the Republican primary voters I have talked to, that is not the problem.
Well, look, in fairness to Vice President Pence, everyone else is trying to break out too, and they can't. So it's not just Vice President Pence who cannot do that. But as Mark said, it's a very crowded lane to try and run in on Donald Trump's policies without his personality. And it's hard for any vice president, as Mark said, to gain traction. It makes it even more difficult when your primary opponent that's leading in the polls by 40 points is the former president himself. So you're trying to run on the policies that he did that you didn't do. So the whole thing is weird on its face. But the fact is, I don't think GOP voters are where Mike Pence is. They may have been where he was when they were in the same place 10, 15 years ago, but they're nowhere close to where the calm Mike Pence, who drops the word conservative in when he makes answers a few times to describe himself, the stereotypical, kind of late 90s, early 2000 Republican. And I like Mike. I worked with him when he was the vice president. I worked with Mark as well. Great man, but I just don't think he's going to meet voters where they are.
Yeah. Donald Trump on Truth Social. Wow, it's finally happened. Little Mike Pence, a man who was about to be ousted as governor of Indiana until I came along and made VP, has gone to the dark side. I never told a newly embroiled, not based on 2% poll numbers, Pence to put me above the Constitution or that Mike was too honest. He's delusional and now wants to show he's a tough guy. I once read a major magazine article on Mike. It said he was not a very good person. I was surprised, but the article was right. Said, Sherry, I guess the one thing that actually Republicans and Democrats could probably agree on, fair-minded ones at least, say what you want about Mike Pence's politics, a thoroughly decent man.
Well, as someone who was on the House floor on January 6th, thank God for Mike Pence.
Right.
And look what he had to endure and has continued to have to endure from former President Donald Trump, from the supporters of Donald Trump. Not only were they hanging a noose that day, and President Trump at the time did nothing to stop all of this. But no, thank God for Mike Pence for making sure that he did the right thing, at least on that day.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.